well can you see the screen share? What do
Oh,
you
great.
see on your phone?
At the very bottom, there's three different options I can select for viewing. One
Right?
of them, which I'm in right now, I can see all of you guys. And then the other one, I can see the screen that you're sharing. So I just kind of go back and forth.
Oh, very cool. Well, it is 2:01, and I want to get started. I'm going to be recording this. I'll pop it up in the dojo. Thank you guys for joining me. Michelle, I think you've been to all of these. So you get my apple of my eye A student award for your consistency. What I want to do today is I want to do a quick review of what we did last week, and then I want to take you guys through a personal assessment. And I try to do these on a monthly basis, and it's a global quantification of where I am in my life, and it's a GPA, just like I was in school, but it's really kind of based on the True North Compass. So, quick review. The goal of our training, the goal of our dojo is less about giving you guys more information, and it's more about an energetic expansion. So the slide I've got up simply says, to experience more, you must own your worth, and own your worth on an expansive level. So I really see each one of us as chalices, and I see the lives that we create always being in equal measure to the size of our chalice. And what we do in American culture is when we have a problem, we throw money at it or we throw information at it. And, I hate to pick on Oprah, but if you've watched Oprah's body history over the last 10 years, she'll lose 50 pounds and gain 50 pounds. And she always comes back to that energetic place of what she believes she's worthy of in terms of physical health. So the goal of our training is, what am I doing every single day to expand my capacity to know how worthy I am, and then let my life fill up to that measure. So that is really kind of the essence behind what it is we're doing together. The training, and I will always go back to natural law, and the reason why I always go back to natural law is because I don't trust people. I am obsessed with truth. And I've studied world religions, and I've studied history, and I've studied how religions are born and how religions are manipulated. And every morning I get up and I do about a 45-minute hike through the ranch, and I do it seasonally, and I see how natural law works, and I see how the elements interact. And I really want my life to be congruent with natural law, because when I'm congruent with it, I'm more in my power, and when I'm not, I'm not. So this picture shows us the five elements. The center picture of Yosemite, the thing I love about the center picture is if you look up at the very, very top of the waterfall, and you can imagine going over just a tiny, tiny bit from the top, that's where I was sitting when the Warrior Heart Project was born. And the thing about Yosemite, which is so magnificent, and BJ and I were there a couple months ago shooting videos, is it's so full of life. You can feel the energy. You can feel what's happening there. And so life is all of the elements in harmony in this beautiful dance. And then I have just visual models of the earth element, and I've got Mount Everest there at the bottom. I've got water, I've got fire, and I've got wind. And how these elements are interconnected and how they play together is the focus of how our compass works. So in this next slide, what I've done is I've shown our personal attributes in the context of the compass. So if you go down in the bottom right-hand corner, you see the earth element. The earth element is embodied in our what I call PQ, or your physical quotient. We have a huge capacity to improve our physical quotient, and our physical quotient has a huge impact on our capacity to work within the other elements, but our physical quotient is limited. I have an X strength curve. I have an X speed curve. I have an X power curve that I can't move beyond. Bottom left-hand corner, I've got a picture of my dear friend Albert Einstein, a great example of IQ, your intellectual quotient. This is kind of the size and scope of your CPU. the processor, how we gain access to information. In the top right-hand corner, I have a picture of my family back in New York, and this is our EQ. And your EQ is your emotional quotient. And what's really interesting is they've done a ton of studies in terms of entrepreneurs and those that are people running huge organizations. EQ is a much higher indicator of success than your IQ is. And they don't really believe IQ is expandable. They really believe kind of we come into the world, this is that unit. Our IQ is expandable. I'm sorry, my EQ is expandable. I can improve my ability to connect, to lead, to motivate, to inspire teams and people. Then in the upper left-hand corner, this is our wind or spirit element. And I have Mother Teresa up there because our SQ is our capacity to impact and serve the world. And what's so exciting about the time that we're living in, especially with what we're doing today, you know, a couple hundred years ago, my SQ was really limited by geography. I could serve and impact the populations that I lived within. And today, our capacity to serve and impact the world is really limitless. And so these are our four physical elements or our four energetic elements. You've got your PQ, your IQ, your EQ, and your SQ. So anybody have a question on those four? You know, this should be review for most of you guys. So let's drop down. Let's take a look at the compass. Let's take a look and review the process real quick. We look at the True North compass as an energetic flow. And more importantly, I really look at it in terms of a compass. The number one regret of people dying is I didn't have the courage to live my truth. And so this is where I've struggled. I can teach people how to be more courageous. I can't teach people truth. Now, there's two truths, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. There's absolute truth and there's relative truth. Absolute truth is that which is. Relative truth is that which you believe to be so. And then there's another level of truth, and that's your personal truth. Michelle's sole purpose is as unique as her DNA, as is BJ's, as is Alex, and as is mine. And the goal of this training and the goal of all education is to draw out, to go into you and source what matters most, to honor that truth, and then to give it expression. So the idea of the True North Compass is I wanted a tool that I could use that was based in natural law that would let me stop and check my life's course and make sure that I was on a path that really served and fulfilled me. So we covered this in a little bit more detail last week. Everything begins and ends in the void, and the void is limitless. The void is all things. It's the ether, it's God, it's the imagination. And in the void, I do what we call sourcing. And I use power questions to guide me to my truth. What matters most to me? What are my greatest joys? How can I move my life forward today in a way that serves me? From my sourcing process in phase 2, when we drop down into the earth element, this is where we make our declarations. And declarations are not wishes, they're not hopes, they're not wants, they are solid things. So one of the things I do with a lot of my students is I do a lot of coaching on language. In the earth element, we don't try, we don't hope, we don't want, we don't wish. We are, I am, and I intend to. So to give you an example of this process, a really wonderful sourcing question are, what are 3 activities that I can do today that will bring me the greatest joy and have the greatest positive impact on my life? That is an incredible sourcing question. What are the 3 most high value activities that I can do in joy that'll have the greatest impact, positive impact on my life? And you need to sit with that. And you need to open yourself up to what those answers are. And they're going to come all over the spectrum. They might be business related. They might be health related. They might be relationships or education. and being open to what those answers are. Then once I've done the sourcing questions, I have to get really good at making my declaration. So I'll give you guys an example. I did this exercise a few months ago, and what really resonated for me was my youngest daughter. Her name kept coming up. I needed to be a better dad. I was so focused on the compass and what I was doing, I wasn't honoring that relationship. So tell me from a declarative statement, what's wrong with being a better dad?
It just means that you're not living up maybe to your daughter's potential of what she's capable of is in what you are giving her.
Okay, but in
very
terms,
relative though.
Yeah.
it's
Very relative and vague. Like, how do you measure that? How do you know when you're there?
100%. There's no
Not
clarity. So what I need to do in the void, my heart and soul said, Bill, the most important thing that you can do today is honor your relationship with your daughter. In step 2, that's where I have to crystallize that into something that's quantifiable and tangible. So what I did is I cleared my calendar and I took my daughter backpacking. And we spent 30 hours and we had this incredible experience. And so I, in step 2, declared what honoring my step 1 knowing was going to look like. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that it be clear, that it be something that I can manage and something that I can quantify right now today. Now, going over into step 3, the thing I love about step 3, this is our ATR zone. This is our training zone. This is what we're doing today. And what I love about ATR is I don't care what my client's sole purpose is. Every one of us has a unique soul purpose. But all of us have only 4 vehicles to facilitate that. I've got my body, my intellect, my emotions, and my spirit. And so to set up a weekly training protocol that every week I'm hitting the gym, I'm doing personal development, I'm working on my EQ, and I'm working on my SQ is an essential part of our True North curriculum. Because whether I want to be the world's best mom, or whether I want to climb Mount Everest, or if I want to be a Fortune 500, CEO, I bring these four elements are my only assets. So in step 3, this is where we are always training. So now I have imagined, I've made a clear declaration, I've maximized my ATR, and now we come over into step 4. This is my engagement, my fire energy. Are you all in? Are you totally committed? Are you totally connected? Now, when I do performance analyses for companies and for individuals, this is the biggest gap I see in people's success. People are not failing overall because they don't have a goal. They're not failing overall because they don't have access to information or tools. They're failing because they don't have the capacity to engage. And there's 2 reasons why a person won't be fully engaged. Reason number 1 is I'm living a lie. So if I don't have this compass and I don't take the time to go in and find out what my internal drivers are, who am I living for? Who or what is driving my actions and my choices?
If you're not all in, then nobody is. There's outside influences if you have them, if you allow that to happen.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Michelle?
Just everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else.
The outside influences will just push you around whichever direction they're going to.
Right. You're going to wear a certain type of clothing. You're going to drive a certain type of car. You're going to select a certain type of career because you're told to. I have a friend who's taking her daughter through college visitations. And, she's an 18-year-old girl, and they're telling her what to major in. They're, you pick your major right now. How the hell is she supposed to know what major she's supposed to be in? So if I choose a path that doesn't resonate with my soul purpose, I will not be fully engaged. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
The other thing that will keep you from engaging is a broken heart, or the walls that we build around our heart, because you've been burned. Who here hasn't been burned? We've been burned in relationships. We've been burned in business deals. We've been burned. And when you get burned, you flinch and you pull away. So unless I know how to actively keep my heart open, heal my heart, and we have this training in the dojo, and it's one of the most important trainings, and I'm going to be doing another one for you guys. That's my SOS tree. Unless I am actively bringing the walls down, unless every single day, and if you can imagine in your ATR, part of your ATR is active grieving. Part of your ATR is active healing. And part of your ATR is keeping the walls down so that when I step into a relationship, when I step into a business meeting, when I step into a new opportunity, I can be totally committed. I can be totally engaged. Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I am not, and so one, you can think of your ATR, which is really if I take my PQ, my IQ, my EQ, and my SQ. That's my ATR. And I might have a lawnmower engine, or I might have a locomotive engine. My capacity to engage is the fuel. It's the energetic driver. So if I have a locomotive engine that has no access to fuel, it's not going to do anything. Which is why we see people that are brilliant, they're fit, they have all of these tools, they have a massive ATR, but their lives aren't driving or being driven forward because they lack the capacity to engage. And they're lacking it again for one of two reasons. They're not honoring their soul purpose, or they are walled off because they don't know how to grieve and heal. So that's step 4. Step 5 is massive, enjoyable action. This is the wind element. These first couple of steps take a very little amount of time. My steps 1 and 2, 20 minutes. 20 minutes in the morning. I can do my meditations, I can clarify my declarations, and I can get them in. My ATR training, I dedicate about an hour a day, maybe 90 minutes a day to my ATR. That leaves the rest in my heart check. My keeping the walls down is part of my ATR. Now, before I go into anything, I do a quick heart check. That takes 5 seconds. Am I all in? Am I totally committed? So the vast part of my day is spent in the wind element. This is the learning, the loving, the playing, the doing. This is moving the energy. This is movement. How fluid, how adaptable are you? Are you finding yourself getting stuck? Are you dropping into step 6 throughout the day? Do you pause? Do you pull your compass out? Are you reviewing? And in the review process, I use I call it the WIN formula, WIN. What's working? What isn't? What needs improvement? So that is my review process. What's working? What's working right now? Where am I in the flow? Where is I making? What isn't? What needs improvement? Then I imagine a better result, and I drop back into the flow. I drop back into the process. This is my compass. It's totally integrated. I can't remove one step and stay in harmony. I can't remove one step and stay in flow. And then the other thing, which we talked a lot about last week, is every step is powered by the elemental energy behind it. So when I am in earth, I am heavy. I am grounded. I am the emperor. I don't make wishes. I make demands. When I'm in the wind element, it's the opposite. I'm free flow. I'm movement. Nothing can stop the wind. When I'm in my ATR zone, I am cold. I'm clear. I'm looking for the best tools and the best processes. I'm using Zoom right now. I love Zoom. If tomorrow Bloom comes out and Bloom's a better program, I'm gone from here and I'm over there. I'm not attached to the tools. In the fire element, I am totally connected. I'm totally engaged to what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And then in the wind element, in the living and the loving and the being, I'm in the zone and I'm flowing. So do you guys have a question And then back in step 6. In steps 1 and 6, stop. The beauty of step 1 and 6 is you turn off all of the exterior noise. You stop what you're doing, you close your computers, you log out, and you go inside. It is a 100% internal process. Then I jump back out and I get in the flow of the compass. So any questions on the compass, the elements, the flow, and how they work? It's a very simple and yet not simplistic tool. One other thing I want to share with you guys, I did a training with my Barkback team, which is this brilliant startup high-tech company yesterday. And we were talking about the Qs, PQ, IQ, EQ, and SQ. And I want you to think about why the compass flows the way it does. It flows the way it does because of energetic density. The void is energy neutral. The void is everything. It's literally the ether. The void is the stuff that makes my heart beat, keeps the sun circulating and flying around, the stars. Earth is finite. It has weight. I can measure it. It is heavy. It is limited. Of all the elements, it is the heaviest. It has the greatest limits. As I move back up the energetic spectrum, the energies become less dense. Water is less dense than earth, but it's more dense than fire. So the energies come down and then they begin to expand back up again. And as the energies and elements expand, the limitations on them begin to disappear. So my physical body has a maximum speed that I can run. Even with the best training, with the best nutrition, I can only run X fast. My spirit is limitless in its capacity to reach out into the world and touch and have an impact and legacy. Our businesses live in the wind element. This is where our legacy is. This is where our impact on the world is. And especially with today's technology, what's fascinating about the internet is the internet doesn't exist in the earth element. The internet is really a water, fire, wind tool. Now, the only physical components of the internet are whether I'm on a phone, a tablet, or, it's the communication device. But all of the information, all of the engagement, and the capacity to reach is not limited. Does that make sense to you guys? That's the magic and power of what we're doing right now. So this is the flow. And what I want to do with the rest of our training is I want to give you guys an assessment test. And what the assessment test is, and this is just a little model on the right, and it just shows, I've got my 6 steps. I imagine, I declare, I train, I engage, I do, and I review. And what I'm going to do is I want you guys, if you have a piece of paper, I want you to take it out, and we're going to walk through this assessment test. And how you grade yourself on this is probably the most important part of it. I took one of my private training clients through this, and he was scoring 3.5s and 4s in every category. And I know where he is in his life. And I said, who are you using as your curve? And he said, the average American. And that just about broke my heart because I can't imagine a worse curve. That's like going into a classroom and taking, the worst, basing a 4.0, and tragically, we're actually starting to do this today. We're making a 4.0 based on kind of the bell curve of mediocrity. Are you guys following what I mean by that? As opposed to a 4.0 should be the highest of human achievement, the highest of human capability. So when you are grading yourself in these different categories, I want you to have an idea of you in your fullest realization. If you were if every one of your Qs was at its highest state, if you can imagine, I'm 52 years old on Monday, the most fit 52-year-old person on the planet. That's my 4.0. And then what my gap is in relationship to that ideal. Does that make sense to you guys? So the idea of true north is if you can imagine yourself in your highest realization in terms of your soul purpose, physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, if you can imagine a point in space where that exists, then where I am today, then a straight line between those 2 points, that's true north. And then my joyous journey is I wake up every day and I'm just moving myself and I'm moving my life towards that destination. Does that make sense? You guys have a question on how we set the curve up? Okay, so I'm gonna make statements, and then you're gonna give yourself a grade. You know, a perfect A is a 4.0, a B plus is a 3.5, a B is a 3, a C plus is a 2.5. You know, just like we were in school. So the first question, and this is an elemental process, is in the void, has to do with your imaginings. And I know that I am living and fulfilling my greatest joy and truth. So I want you to close your eyes. I'm going to repeat the question. I know that I am living and fulfilling my greatest joy and truth. And so sit with that question. Have your highest realization be the 4.0. Look at your life for the first quarter of 2014, since January 1 to today, and in terms of that truth, give yourself a grade. And you're going to see how all of these are interconnected, just like the compass is interconnected. Step number 2, the earth element. This is your declarations. I set clear, compelling goals daily that move my life forward in joy and love. So again, against your highest realization, I set clear, compelling goals daily that move my life forward in joy and love. And give yourself a grade in relationship to that most beautiful ideal or imagining. Okay, now the next category is cumulative. So this is like a mini report card unto itself. This is your water element. We're going to get an ATR grade. So we're going to start physically. And we're looking at your strength, your endurance, your agility, every component, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, every component that you would use to rate your physical health. That's a 4.0. Where you are in relationship to that. So under your physical, give yourself a grade. The next category, this has to do with what we call mission or goal specific knowledge. Do you know everything you need to know to fulfill your soul purpose? So this is an education question. So I have the best tools for personal and professional development on earth. I know that. I know that with conviction because I've seen the others. I am not the best at marketing information online. There are 4 of us in this chat. There should be 4,000. So where I'm weak, where I'm getting a D, is in my goal-specific knowledge. I know what my soul purpose is. I know what my mission is, but I have a huge gap in skill sets to bring it forth. So that's that grade. The next grade is emotional. This is your EQ. This is your capacity to lead, to connect, to form teams, to serve. Your EQ. Now imagine again it in its highest capacity where it is today. The next is your SQ, my loving service to the world, my ability to wake up every single day and have an impact, whether it's on one person, 100 or 100,000. Is the world better every day at the end of the day because you were in it? So you're going to take those 4 grades. I want you to add them up and then divide by 4. and that is your ATR GPA. So Alex, what did you get for that?
Like 1.75.
Okay. BJ, what'd you get?
I'm still adding it up.
All right. Michelle, what do you got?
Yeah, like a D.
Okay.
Like a 2.
So this is really significant, guys, because this is my ATR is the engine that's going to drive my dreams. So if I, in my heart, am told run a marathon, okay, great. So in step 2, I sign up for the rock and roll marathon. I've done step 1 and I've done step 2 perfectly. I get on my sneakers, I go run, and I make it 2 blocks and I puke. I don't have a vision problem. I don't have a declaration problem. I have an ATR problem. My ATR isn't big enough to drive my dreams. So let's continue on down the process. Now you have, so you can now X out those other ones, those other categories, because you have your water score.
I got a 3.5, by the way.
Say it again.
3.5 for me.
Right on, BJ. In the fire element, my heart is open, loving, and fearless. I commit fully to everything I do. This is the Navy SEAL. There's no half-ass in your life. You are all in. You don't hesitate. It isn't a dance. You don't show a little bit of who you are. You aren't holding your cards back. You are all in your life. You are showing up. So that's your engagement score. Now we move into the wind element, where the energy is starting to shift. This is about movement. Every day, I move joyfully towards my goals, flowing freely over each obstacle. Every single day, I walk out the door with a plan, but the world has a very different idea of what's going to be taking place. So in this category, am I able to keep my eye on my destination? But if I find a river, or if I find a mountain, or if I find some obstacle in front of me, I know how to flow around it and stay on my path without getting frustrated, without getting angry, without getting stuck. So this is your wind element. And the next and last category goes back into the void. I regularly check in with myself to ensure that I am enjoying the journey and on my true north path. This means that throughout the day, you're stopping, you're pulling the compass out. Before you go to bed, when you're laying there in bed, you do a step 6 review. What worked today? What isn't? What needs improvement? And so, again, against you in your highest realization. So now what we do, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grades. You have a void grade, an earth grade, a water cumulative grade, your fire, your wind, and your void. You take those 6 categories, you add them up, and then you divide by 6. And this is a snapshot of where you are in your life against the highest imagining of you. So as you guys are tabulating, I want you to think about why this is such an important process. If I give you a map, and if I give you a compass, and I give you the tools, the equipment that you need to survive in the wild, to thrive in the wild, there's one other piece of information that's essential, and that is where you are. If I take you and I drop you off in the middle of nowhere and you have a map and you have a compass and you have a destination, but you don't know where you are, you can't navigate. You can't move from point A to point B. You guys follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really important process. This is me, again, stopping and looking at where am I? And then this is a resource management tool. Some of you guys might be fairly consistent. Some of you guys might have big gaps. You might have big imbalances. I have some people that have, you know, their PQ is a 4.0 and their EQ is a 1. That's the best thing I've ever heard, because now you know what you should be doing. Now you know what you have to do to create your training program, to fill in your gaps, to move your life forward. And so the goal of our True North Academy is to create the tools and the training vehicles that let each one of us have a customized experience, because each one of you guys is having a very personal experience as well as a total personal mission. So any questions or thoughts or observations on this process?
I always forget to go back and review my day.
BJ, you broke up. You broke up a little bit, sister.
I said that my biggest thing that I am not doing fully is reviewing my day when I go to bed at night, dropping back into the void and see where I was at and what I did today and what I can do better tomorrow. I don't always do that.
And that is such an important part of the process, guys, because think about what you're doing. If that's the last thing you do before you go to bed, guess what you've just given as a homework assignment to your subconscious mind? Your subconscious mind is going to be working on those answers so that when you wake up in the morning, your step one has already been processing all night long. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you are not taking out your compass on a regular basis, you will get lost. And the tragedy in a survival situation, and BJ, you and I both know this, is people who die in the wild or people that have to be rescued were lost for a very long time before they recognized they were lost. Does that make sense to you guys? And in terms of us, you know, how many 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, you know, have that major life crisis, the divorce, the layoffs, and they go, holy shit, how did I get here? This isn't where I wanted to be. This isn't what I thought my life would be. Well, they never stopped. They never took the compass out. They never did that internal work to find out where they were supposed to be. So the number one regret in hospice, I didn't have the courage to live my truth, because you never stopped to go inside to discover what it is. So we got a couple minutes left to wrap up. Any other thoughts or questions or observations on this process?
Well, just what you just finished with, Bill, is to have the courage to live my truth. I mean, that resonates with me big time, especially now that I'm going to make it a point to drop into the void at night before I go to bed. I'm going to put a sticky note right next to my bed so I will remind myself to do that.
Perfect. That's a perfect declaration. Mm-hmm. And that action, if you think of your life as being on a trail, that action is going to take you to a different outcome. Right. That's the other thing I want you guys to understand. Every time you change a thought and you change a behavior, you change course. It's impossible to end up at the same destination you were moving down. And instead of letting life kind of bump me along, I just want to make sure that I have a process that I use every single day that's simple, that's complete, and integrated to make sure I'm moving my life forward in as much joy and truth as I can. That's what this is about. Now, Alex, we did this when you joined the SRT team. And that's been, it's a couple months ago. How is it different for you going back and doing it again?
Well, I'm like in a totally new environment now. And actually it's funny. One of the biggest things as a result from going through through the first time was, that I realized that I needed to make a change in order to really move forward on what I really want to do. And then that resulted in me, quitting the job and moving over here over to my friend's place here in Texas and everything. And, and I wasn't really considering that at all, prior to when I got involved. So, I would actually say that's probably the biggest complete trajectory shift.
That's a big shift. That's a big course correction.
Yeah, it's a huge course correction. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
So I'm still kind of figuring it out right now. I mean, but it's definitely, it's opened up a lot of other things that's related to what I was working on. It's still kind of playing itself out right now, but
right.
I'm kind of recollecting everything, and I'm like, okay, now that I have all this new information, all this new experiences, and this new environment, now I'm kind of like saying like, okay, how does all this apply back to what I'm, all this again? And it's good to review, and it's just, it's just making it even more clear exactly what I'm doing. And, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do when I got here, because I'd never been over here before. And so now that I'm here, I'm like, oh, okay, now this is what it's actually like.
The other thing, which is really cool, you guys, this is a daily process. It isn't a New Year's resolution process. This is every single day. And so you make course corrections as you have more information. You make course corrections as things pop up in front of you. So it's a living activity. Michelle, what did you take from this?
I guess in the last couple of months, since I've really started focusing on this, I know more the little things that I need to start doing to get me where I need to be. And I feel like things have come up that have stopped me in my path. I got the stress fracture on my leg, so that stopped the marathon and the physical training process. That was also interrupting. I'm part of the Sierra Club's Wilderness Basics course down here, and one of the things on my list is to become a leader, to be able to lead hikes. And I feel like between these trainings and everything there at the classes, I'm inundated with, compass use and and but now, there have been things that have come up that have prevented me from getting my leader certification. I was sick almost the whole month of January, and then I got sick again last week. And so I just kind of feel like, okay, I'm ready to start. Let's go. And I'm just waiting for everything to kind of come into alignment so I can just do that.
Well, one of the things that I think will be really helpful when you look at your ATR, when I was getting ready to test for, I think it was my first red belt, which was considered kind of the first senior rank below black belt. I literally shattered my ankle. The doctor said it was going to be 3 years before I could test again. I mean, I was devastated. I blew it up. And I was home, and my instructor came over, and he brought me a stack of books, the I Ching, the Tao Te Ching, and all of these the Book of Five. And he said, I was devastated because I thought my training was over because I was such a physical person. I was so in my body. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, your training has just shifted. And the truth is that time of being forced into a new mode of training probably had a greater impact on my life than anything else. It was easy to get, for me to step into that intellectual, emotional, and spiritual training that I was ignoring because I was such a physical being was really profound. So, and that's the wind element. That's recognizing, oh, I was going to go run a marathon this weekend. Oh, no, you're not. Mm-hmm. And when the universe says that, okay, well, I'm still on my true north path. I'm still living in love. I'm still living in joy. What's the opportunity for me? And that's what's so exciting. We can and need to be always training. It doesn't take a lot of time. This little lunch training once a week is going to create a shift for you guys. Going into the dojo and listening to one of the tapes, watching one of the videos, doing those exercises, and the more you can become disciplined, the more you can do them on a regular basis. And the last thing I'll share before you guys go, every 24-hour period, is a mini compass. And when I'm sleeping, I'm in the void. That's when my subconscious mind is going, God, no, I'm flying and I'm creating, I'm doing all these things. Right before dawn, that's my earth element. Sunrise is the water element. Think about, when you walk out and there's dew all over your car, then high noon is the fire element. And then the afternoon Santa Anas, the winds that come up are the wind element. So in a 24-hour period, the universe follows this model. The best time to set aside time for your personal development is in the earth element. I do my training between 5:30 and 7:30 because that's my time. Nothing disrupts it. I'm in control of it. As the day progresses and the elements start to shift and move, I lose control over my schedule, which is why people who go to gym in the morning are always more successful than people who go in the afternoon. You guys follow me? So when you really learn to honor these elements and see when they're working, you get much better at when you're going to schedule the different activities. And when you schedule them in harmony with the elements, you're going to be much more empowered than when you are trying to work against the elements. So that's it. I mean, unless you guys have any more questions, what'd you think of today's training?
I'm loving it.
Lot of stuff, a lot of really good stuff. So I'll record this. Go ahead, Alex.
Actually on that last point, it's becoming more apparent to me because I'm also trying to figure out what the best schedule is to be working on different things. And with the last thing you just said, I ended up going to bed really early last night. I went to go take a nap and I totally got knocked out. And the next thing I know, I woke up, it was like 2:30 in the morning, but I was fully rested. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to get up. And then I just been working on stuff. And I was like, it just became really clear to me how much more valuable and how much more stuff I can get done when it's just when it's really early and quiet and there's absolutely no distractions, nobody IMing me or no one and I was like, wow, okay, now it's been it is really clear now because there's in the past couple of weeks I've been mostly starting later in the day and I realize there's so many times where I'm like right in the middle of trying to get something done and then some other things happen and then I get pulled off in a million different directions and the whole day gets away from me and I'm just like, what the hell happened to my day? I didn't get anything done I wanted to get done. And
the most successful people are the early risers. They, that old adage, the early bird catches the worm. In those pre-dawn hours or before, and again, it's all energy. I want you guys to understand it's all energy. Before the world gets in motion, because once the world gets in motion, I've got to flow with it. That's what's appropriate. Right. But in that earth element, when I am declaring my day, when I'm setting my intentions, when I'm putting my calendar together, that's the time to do that. Not at 3:00 in the afternoon, because by then you've really, you can call it the fog of battle. You can call it whatever you want to, but you're in the flow of life, and the flow of life is wind. So that's really cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the training. Pop something in the dojo. Tell people, hey, you guys missed it. I really want to see this grow, and I want to see how it works as more and more people jump in and join us. So that's all I got. I'll see you.
Actually, I just a kind of off question, like what the name, the brown bag meaning, where'd that come from?
Oh, it's an old term, brown bag in it. This goes back, now I'm really aged. When my dad was an engineer in the 50s, the guy, brown bag is like literally, the little lunch sack.
Yeah.
It's just taking your lunch sack to work, and a brown bag meeting is everybody brings their lunch sack and we just sit down. So I might have to explain that. I'll either explain it or change the name.
Hey, Bill, I just want to make a comment before we go. This is like the third or fourth time I've worked through the compass with you, and I got to tell you, I learned something new every single time. So I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to reviewing it again.
I got to tell you guys, I've been teaching this compass every day now, going on almost 2 years. I learn something new every day. That's what's so exciting. It's the depth of this tool blows me away. So, what's tragic in America's instant world, it's like, oh, I got that. What's next? Give me the next. It's those shiny objects that pull us away from the things that really matter. And the reviews will get a little tighter, but I want you to, and when you guys go on a hike, and Michelle, when you're in nature, learn, study the elements, because it isn't, this is not tree, cat, boat, sewing machine. That's not what this compass is. This compass is earth, water, fire, and wind, because that's what sustains us. And that's what we are made up of. So the integrity of this process is millennia old, and we've forgotten it. So everybody's looking for the 7 steps, or the 12 steps, or the 14 steps, or the 28 steps. Why don't we go back to how the universe has wired itself and study that? So that's it, you guys. Awesome training. Alex, you look like you maybe had one more question.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say definitely with the reviewing, and I wasn't thinking about the whole density, like you said, where each one gets less and less dense, and with that has less and less control. So I was like, okay, that makes a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That I don't know. It was one of those details that didn't clear.
Yeah, sit with it.
Yeah.
Your PQ has actual limitations to it.
Right.
Your IQ less than, your EQ less than, and your SQ is limitless. So when you can see and feel those energetic shifts, you start getting into the power of the real power of the compass. It's a great tool when you just use it but when you immerse yourself energetically, that's where the magic starts to happen. So that's it. I got to run, you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you at next week's brown bag lunch, unless we change the name. So.
Metal Pail, yes.
Yeah, Metal Pail. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got.
All right.
Bye-bye, you guys.
Thanks.
Mute chat. Make us remove. I just got to figure out how to end the meeting. There we go.